The last few days, everybody is lying about Iran. Everybody in the mainstream media, the neocons are crashing out, the liberals are crashing out, the deep staters are crashing out. They're all freaking out over what Trump's done with this deal. They all either wanted us to bomb forever, neocons, or get stuck, liberals, or never have gone in the first place, deep staters. They're all hitting it from different angles, even though they're all basically controlled by the same people. And the fact that who's against it kind of tells you whether or not it's a good thing. And ultimately, it is a good thing where we're headed. And this is one of those times when the psyops are so thick coming from so many angles that you really only can trust Trump. In my opinion, the Trump administration is the only people we can trust. And that does not mean that every word coming out from Trump, Vance, any of them is 100% true at this point, because they have to communicate what is best for where we're headed, regardless if that's 100% true or not. But the narrative is what's most important. The narrative is what's most important from the Trump administration. And here's the latest from Trump. Despite their protestations and false statements to the contrary, coupled with the drumbeat of fake news, doing everything possible to make the U.S. victory as small as insignificant as possible, Iran has fully and completely agreed to highest level nuclear inspections long into the future. Infinity! Funny Trump would post that right after Toy Story 5 came out, right? This will ensure nuclear honesty. If they did not agree to this, there'd be no further negotiations. Based on this and other major concessions being made by Iran, I've agreed to allow the Hormuz Strait to remain open with no further naval blockade. However, all ships remaining in place should it be necessary to reinstitute the blockade, which seems at this point highly unlikely. The money or sanctions U.S. Treasury is releasing goes into escrow controlled by the USA. Isn't that interesting? The money and sanctions the Treasury releases goes into escrow. That's not being reported, is it? It will be used for purchase of food and medical supplies exclusively from the U.S., including corn, wheat, soybeans from our farmers. These are things desperately needed by Iran, this humanitarian crisis. I feel it's necessary to help now before it's too late. Talks are going well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Wow, there's a lot here. Did Trump just tell us that the economy in Iran got so wrecked by all of this that the people are now starving? And is this one of the reasons Trump is so quick to let this deal happen in this way? Because they are that decimated. They are that the infrastructure of the country is that far gone. You know, it's estimated that their GDP has dropped 40 to 50% just because of this. That's half just cut out. That's extreme poverty overnight. It's estimated that $2 trillion of their military infrastructure is gone. We completely ultimately destroyed them in this war. I don't think and there's any argument to be made on that for anybody who spends 10 minutes researching what happened. But no, that's not the narrative they want to paint you. They want to tell you that Iran won and is continuing to win. But maybe, just maybe, the Trump team's right. Think about that for a second. I constantly get people arguing with me. Oh, could never happen. Iran's always going to be evil and tricksy. And guess what? I mostly agree with that, as long as it's the previous people in charge. But even Trump's out there saying we have regime change. Now, here's what gives me peace. Because I don't know. I don't trust Iran. But what gives me peace is knowing Trump's already bombed them 3 times in the last year, which tells me he has no problem going back and doing it again if needed. So that, my friends, is all I need to know as far as the fact that I believe and trust that this administration will see this through. And right now, oil is about to crash under $73, which means 60s are not far off, which means our gas will be in the $2 range within the next month and a half. That's massive. So if the Trump administration really is pulling all this off, and anybody who thinks that this deal, that Trump is just going to hand them money, is, wait for it, retarded. The Trump administration has been very clear and very tough with these nations over and over and over again. But that's the narrative they're trying to spin right now. The narrative is that Trump's just going to hand them money, that he was so far behind. We were losing so bad that Trump panicked and now he's just going to pay them off to be quiet. No, it's just not going to happen. That's absolutely retarded. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep using the word because right now it's the appropriate word. Thank you, Trump, for bringing back non-PC culture. We needed it, because sometimes you got to call spade a spade. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Because the critics of this deal, there's a couple. There are ones that are legitimate. The legitimate criticism is, how do we trust them? I agree with that, but I don't worry about it, because we could just blow them out again. We've done it once, we'll do it again. We've done it 3 times, actually. We'll do it again. So I don't worry about that part. But that is legitimate criticism. The other legitimate criticism is, are we giving them too much? Are we being too nice to them? Fine, maybe. But the illegitimate criticism is that we're just handing them money. The illegitimate criticism is that we didn't win this war. The illegitimate criticism is that we're capitulating to them. Honestly, all those criticisms are, wait for it, retarded. There's no evidence to support that whatsoever. Whether you've seen the entirety of Trump, how he's ran things as president going back to term 1 till now, or you just look at the plain facts. The plain facts are not on your side if that is your illegitimate criticism. And the Trump team, again, is the only ones we can trust in this, because how many times now, if you're believing the mainstream media, if you're still trusting these people, I got to ask you, how many times have they been wrong? Aren't you tired of believing the people who are wrong all the time? The whole Trump is always right meme is right. It's more accurate than most people want to admit, because it's accurate very frequently, almost all the time. And honestly, the times when it isn't right, it's almost like there's a good reason for it. So I got to ask you, who do you want to trust? Just because you don't want to believe it happened, just because you might not have liked what we did, doesn't mean it wasn't effective, and doesn't mean it's going to end wrong. That might just be your doomerness coming through. And by the way, the American people are very happy with it right now. The recent poll, 80% of Republicans either consider the deal better for U.S. or good for U.S. and Iran. This deal is popular even among people who watch Fox News and talk radio. Oh, yeah, which is interesting, because that's where the neocons live. The Mark Levins. That's where they live and speak and breathe. But regardless, the vast majority of the base, 80%, believe it's either good for the U.S. or good for the U.S. and Iran, which means they're fine with it. That matters, folks. That's how you keep the base happy, which is what matters heading into the midterms. Don't forget it. Now, so much more is happening because of what Trump's pulling off in Iran, including the latest from Benjamin Netanyahu today. Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel must reduce its military dependence on the U.S. and expand its domestic weapons production capabilities to sustain its ongoing conflict with Iran as proxies. Interesting. Pull away from the U.S. more, which I think most of us would like. By the way, for all the Israel people who get mad at me every time I'm critical of Israel, I got to tell you, this is coming from Netanyahu, not from U.S. Reduce its military dependence on the U.S. But here's what's also interesting. To sustain its ongoing conflict with Iran and its proxies. Is it possible that the Trump administration is setting things up so that we don't have to go into the Middle East anymore? But we're also giving Israel a green light to say, oh, hey, fine, you guys deal with it. We just don't want to be a part of this anymore. You guys do what you want to do. But again, it's more proof that Trump is not connected to Israel the way many people say he is. It's very interesting. And we'll have to see how this goes off. This has been frequent from Netanyahu lately to start getting off of our aid. And regardless how this ends up, I contend that what Trump's trying to do by defeating this City of London reach and its control of Iran as a proxy, its control of shipping, its control of oil manipulation, its control of being able to destabilize the Middle East through the IRGC and Muslim Brotherhood and its other proxies of City of London, that by pulling that back, Trump will bring peace to the Middle East and Israel. But again, we can't control these countries. If Israel wants to keep fighting, then they can keep fighting. But Netanyahu is saying, we're going to do it on our own dime. Okay, then. We'll have to watch and see how this goes. But regardless, the Iran war is accomplishing getting Israel a little more independent, which I think is a good thing overall. Newt Gingrich, who is always the insight into what the establishment Republicans are, or at least where they might be headed. See, Newt is establishment through and through. But Newt's also very smart, whereas many of the other ones are stupid. And Newt is sounding the alarm here. He's sounding the alarm to establishment Republicans, rhinos, get in line, because Trump is winning. If you don't get in line, you're going to be in trouble. Newt is smart enough to see the future on this one. And I covered this before, and it's time to get into it again, because Newt had a big post he posted this morning at 5 a.m. saying, Americans support Trump's efforts to make peace while containing Iranian dictatorship and blocking it from nuclear weapons. J.D. Vance's report from Switzerland on progress has been well received by most Americans. A series of polls indicate strong support for Trump's position. Napolitan report 58% think the agreement's good for U.S. and only 20% bad. Quantum report 56% approval with 13% disapproval. Fabrizio has had a series of important reports. By 67-26, they report Americans favor the agreement. What's he trying to tell them right now? All you guys criticizing this deal, Ted Cruz, you guys are going to get crushed. If you guys want any chance of holding power in the next election, you better shut up, because Trump in the primaries will annihilate you. This is a warning sound. He's speaking to his own people. Wake up. The people like this, even if you don't. According to Fabrizio, 51% believe the deal will help the economy, while only 12% think it will be worse. On inflation and affordability, numbers are not as strong as Fabrizio reports. 43% think it will get better. 16% think it worse. On gasoline prices, people are optimistic. 67% thinking they'll get better. Only 9% think they'll get worse. After a long stretch of attacks from the right and the left, from the so-called foreign policy experts and liberal media, American people have concluded that progress is being made and things will get better. As always, Trump, the man of the people, making the people, the right people very angry, and the American people very happy. President Trump showed great endurance in going through the kabuki theater of dealing with opponent, religiously motivated, has been bitterly anti-American for 47 years, finds it hard to even talk to us. Persistence of J.D. Vance and Witkoff and Kushner and long trips filled with frustration paid off. No one should be in doubt. That is a big word coming from Newt Gingrich. If you don't remember why, Newt Gingrich is only one of the most important people in the Republican Party, in politics in general. Newt Gingrich pulled off the miracle of the 1994 House elections, where we took back the House after 40 years of Democrat control. Gingrich, it was his plan that did that. Again, he's a genius. Doesn't mean I always agree with him, but he's very important. And when it comes to politics, he's a genius. This is the beginning of a long road of managing a challenging, often hostile, and very often deceitful country, which had almost 5 decades of trying to hurt America and ultimately destroy it. It's possible Trump's combination of military, economic, financial, and diplomatic efforts have led to a profound change in how the Iranian dictatorship has to think about the world. Did you read that? This is very interesting. Possible Trump's combination of military, economic, financial, and diplomatic efforts led to a profound change in how they have to think about the world. I think Newt knows something. I think he's trying to tell us what's happening. In Churchill's phrase, this is not the beginning of the end, but the end of the beginning. Now we have to design a management system, monitors, investigates, sanctions when necessary, and ensures compliance to the Iranian dictatorship as long as it's in power. By the way, this is exactly what's happening. We are going to track every dollar that goes to them and watch where it goes. And I will probably reveal a lot if they try to play games. He says, this is an enormous step. It's the beginning, not the end. And I agree with that. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of a new way of engaging in the Middle East. It's a new world. The deep state is going bye-bye. Trump is dealing with it here domestically because he's also throttled it in foreign policy. He has cut the tentacles of the city of London in so many ways. Europe is collapsing right now. The EU, the globalist system, Davos, they are dying right before our very eyes. Trump is working on pulling out of NATO. He's already cutting back. He's pulling out of their bases. He's brought peace to the South, ending communist dictatorship in Venezuela. All the U.S. aid money has dropped up. So now all the people coming in to the South America, Central America are right-wingers. He's retaking it over, defeating the communists, defeating the socialists. He cut off the Middle East. He's bringing peace to the Middle East. They have nothing. Their money is drying up like crazy. All their avenues of getting out of these issues is disappearing. All they have left is war. They need one badly. And it's why they are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure Ukraine and Russia continues. But I don't think it will. Now, the latest, people have been wondering where Rubio is. Well, again, here's one of the effects of what Trump just pulled off. And it's a big one. Cuba. Rubio's been dealing with Cuba. While Trump has Vance finishing up Iran and dealing with this fraud task force, Rubio's been behind the scenes. We haven't seen him as much lately. Well, it's because he's been building up the end of the Cuban regime. As Trump said, we'll hit Cuba on the way back. Here's Rubio posting this morning. Situation in Cuba is devolving as the island's corrupt, brutal, and anti-American communist regime continues to prioritize its own total control over the freedom, opportunity, and basic well-being of the Cuban people. The Cuban military-controlled conglomerate GESA has persistently served as a main vector for regime elites to steal the island's few resources, diverting them for repression, anti-American subversion, spying instead of schools, power plants, and necessities for the Cuban people. Today, I designated additional GESA network entities associated with moving both its money and physical assets, as well as entities responsible for exploiting Cuba's mineral and metal reserves for ill-gotten profit. Anyone providing services to these sanctioned actors is at risk of being sanctioned themselves. You know where they were getting a lot of their money? Spain. You know where Spain was getting that money? The EU. Another globalist asset being taken off. And it's economically. All wars are economic, folks. And that's what's happening right now. Trump is winning the war by freezing out their assets over and over and over again. It's working. When Iran, after blowing them to hell, what do we do? Froze their assets. Blocked off their money supply. This is how Trump's winning with very, very few casualties. Anyone providing services to these sanctioned actors risk of being sanctioned themselves. Foreign banks and other companies that provide services should freeze those activities immediately. That is a shot to the city of London. That is a direct shot. See, Cuba's next. They are now, this is the tell. The focus now, this is the actions that are now being taken. And do not be surprised if in the next few weeks we get major action on Cuba. And I'm telling you, like Venezuela, it's going to be like that. This is the new world order we're entering in. Trump is bringing sovereignty back while ending communism in the entire Western Hemisphere and ending the globalist, Davos, City of London, cabal, deep state plan, ending it completely by letting them fall apart on their own by just taking away their assets and saying, let's see if you can stand on your own 2 feet. As he's doing this, it's all collapsing. And we are winning like crazy. And if you want to understand why they're so mad, that is why. Because their system is collapsing and they know it and they're terrified. So we're winning and we just got to keep listening to the men in charge because they're telling us what's actually happening. And again, the leader of the rhinos, the leader of the establishment from behind the scenes is telling them, fall in line. And that, my friends, tells us we're winning big. All right, hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. Thank you so much.